guys, it's Karen. It is day 17 of the 100 Days of Making Comics Challenge, and I am trying to be more productive. I was not so successful at that today. I did get some writing done, which was on my I must do list, and by writing I mean outlining. I can't write the script until I am able to. I still cannot figure out where to look. Right there. Isn't that funny? Okay, so I worked on the outline of Act 2, and basically I realized I didn't know what I was doing. So I had to ask myself a lot of questions. So I spent a half hour on this. That's all I had time for today. Notes. So what I realized was at the end of Act 1, my main character, so this is a private detective thing that I'm working on, and the main character has been given the case by this mysterious company that he works for, and he has to investigate a murder. And in the Act 1, I had originally had it that she gave him this folder that had all the information. And then when I was looking, I want to tell this story in about 48 pages. So it's more like I'm acting like it's a short story instead of a novel length thing. So I have very limited time, and in that time I have to cram a lot of stuff. And so I had originally had him meeting with the police detective after having already reviewed the files, and I was like, well, I knew how he was going to track down the big clue that's going to lead him to the murderer, but I would have ended up having to do a lot of extra steps. And so I was trying to find a way to condense that. So I just started asking. I don't know if this technique sometimes helps me. I just ask myself questions. So at the beginning, I started just listing it out in bullet point form, these questions. So does he call the police detective? Does he meet the detective at the police station? Does the police detective pick him up at his office or at home to take him to the crime scene? Or does he meet the detective at the crime scene? Or does he arrive with him? When was the crime committed? What is the story timeline? I absolutely, in a murder thing, you need to have a timeline. Is it later the same night that they found the body? Is it a day later? These are all going to affect how he's able to find clues to the murder at the murder scene. Does the detective stay with him at the crime scene or to follow up with the lead, or does the detective leave him to do his work? Is the crime scene even still active? Is it cordoned off? What are there other CSI police there? If there are, what do they know about Gregor or think about him? If there's conflict, does the detective need to run interference for Gregor at the crime scene? Is it easier just to have the crime scene be processed? So as I was writing all this down and I was thinking about things and these questions, you can kind of see there's like a logical procession of these questions, how they're like sort of leading me to a realization. So then I was like, well, maybe instead of leaving the folders with Gregor, the liaison that had given Gregor, the PI, our main character, only the detective's contact phone number instead of leaving that folder with him. Because if he has the folder, there's really no reason, unless there's conflict with the police department or it's an active crime scene, for Gregor to even meet up with the guy. So maybe then he just, in the end of the first act, he just calls him up and they set up a meeting at the crime scene. And then I was like, it would also be easier, and like in a novel, we would have all kinds of fun with an active crime scene and conflict between him and the officers. But this is, I have to shorten this down. So I realized, okay, then because I don't have a lot of time to draw this out, this needs to be an empty crime scene. Now, if it's an empty crime scene, how long has it been empty? What's still there? What's been processed? So these things all lead me. This sounds so stupid and like obvious, but when you're just thinking, okay, when you're just trying to make up the outline and stuff, these are all just huge blocks. And once you start answering these questions, the plot sort of writes itself. Okay, so I'm like, well, okay, so it's empty. It's been a couple of days. So they're talking And maybe they've never worked before either. That could be an interesting thing that I could just hint at. The detective leaves, and then Gregor could go over the folder in the car. That would only take a page or a couple panels before he checks out the scene using his ESP, which is the main way he gets it. So so then I was like, well, that would be another thing. The detective is doubtful Gregor would be able to find anything. It's been a couple of days and not much is left. The CSI, well, there wasn't much there to begin with, and what was there, the CSI team got everything they could. And then, so, the detective's like, whatever, dude, you're not going to find anything. And he takes off and lets him, do his thing. So that solved everything. That solved all the problems. It would be more interesting if this is a new contact, so that he has all these doubts, like, well, I don't know, buddy, whatever, it's your deal. I'm just passing on the information. Let me know if you find anything, right? So because I decided that, because that would be so much easier to fit into the 12 pages that I've allocated for myself, I do need to now go back to Act 1 and change the outline to make way for this new scene or angle. And most crucially, I really cannot go any further until I decide who, what, where, why, and how the murder happened. How did the murder happen? When? Why? How did it happen? And to whom? To whom would tell me why. I know who did it, and I mostly know how he did it. But so this really helped. This was just, it was simple, maybe, too obvious to make a video about. For this had to happen for me to move forward. So I have a clear idea now of that scene. It can be a lot shorter. It's not going to take as much room in the second act. And now I just need to, once I figure out the who, what, where, why, and how, then I will be able to actually move forward. Because I can't do anything else until I answer those questions. So, a lot of times also it's kind of funny when I'm stuck, instead of doing this on the computer, which I very well could have done, if I pull out a notebook, it's like if I do something on the computer, it becomes video glare. Video glare from our friend Luke Skywalker. If I put it on the computer, I feel like I'm committed to it, and it's serious work, and that sometimes freezes my thinking up. But if I pull out a notebook, it's kind of like opening up a sketchbook. It's just a sketch. It's not real. It's not in the computer yet. This is just thinking out loud. I'm not married to this. I don't have to keep it. That's a trick I use a lot. So if you find that you're frozen at the computer, try pulling out your notebook and just start writing. Also, for those of us who are old, the earliest way, the computer wasn't around when it was just coming onto the scene for personal home use when I was in high school, pretty much, is when I first got my hands on one, and I would write, young high school, but still high school. So, so most of my earliest writing was all with the pen. It still is with kids. My kid writes in his notebooks all the time, and he's got a device and everything, but there's something about that earliest sense memory thing that, sometimes also helps get into that creative space. So I'm gonna work on this more tomorrow. Hopefully, I gotta do some deep thinking about the who, what, where, when, why, and how. And hopefully I'll have some more progress tomorrow. I may or may not do some drawing. We'll see how the day goes. So that's it for day 17. I will probably get this uploaded tomorrow because it's late here as usual. And I hope you guys are all having fun being creative and getting work done on your creative projects. So I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.